November 20th, 1979. It was the first day of the 15th century of the Islamic calendar, the beginning of a new era. Inside Masjid al-Haram in Makkah, around the Kaaba, more than 500 Muslims from all over the world were performing the Fajr prayer. The atmosphere was peaceful, but as soon as the prayer ended, that peace was pierced by a sound, the sound of gunfire. The large gates of the mosque were being locked from the inside with heavy chains. Before anyone could understand what was happening, 600 armed militants spread across the mosque with their guns. Some militants carrying sniper rifles climbed the mosque's minarets. The holiest site in Islam, where shedding the blood of any living being is strictly forbidden, was now hijacked. Thousands of innocent people were trapped inside, and the whole world, especially the Muslim Ummah, was in shock. Who had planned this operation? How had such a large number of weapons reached the Kaaba despite strict security? And the biggest quest, when all the entrances to the Kaaba were shut, a voice echoed from the mosque's speakers. It was the voice of the leader who had planned this entire attack, a man who knew the Saudi system from the inside and had now come to fight against it. This was Juhayman al-Otaibi. Juhayman al-Otaibi was a former soldier of the Saudi Arabian National Guard, an institution whose main purpose is to protect the Saudi royal family. He had left the National Guard to start his own movement. Due to his charismatic personality and fiery speeches, he gathered many followers, including university students and Bedouin tribesmen. They all believed that the Saudi royal family had become corrupt, and in their view, the Saudi rulers had drifted away from the true principles of Islam by aligning themselves with America and Western culture. At first glance, their plans seemed simple: to remove the Western-influenced Saudi royal family from power. But the plan was far bigger and more dangerous. Juhayman convinced his followers of something that seemed impossible: the prophecy of the arrival of Imam Mahdi before the Day of Judgment, who would establish justice in the world. According to Hadith, Imam Mahdi's appearance would take place in Makkah, between the Kaaba and Maqam Ibrahim. Juhayman announced that the day had come and that Imam Mahdi was present inside Masjid al-Haram with them. He introduced his brother-in-law, Muhammad Abdullah al-Qahtani, declaring him to be Imam Mahdi. His plan was that on this first day of the new Islamic century, in front of the entire world, the people inside Masjid al-Haram would pledge allegiance to Imam Mahdi. This announcement created a strange atmosphere inside the mosque. Some people, especially the youth, were inspired by his passionate speech and the claim of Mahdi's presence and joined him. But thousands of others remained terrified and in disbelief, trapped around the Kaaba. Outside, the Saudi government was facing a crisis for which it was completely unprepared. This was a direct attack on the religious and political legitimacy of the Saudi royal family. But they could not take immediate action. They faced two almost impossible challenges. The first was a military challenge. Juhayman and his men were not ordinary people. Their leader was a former National Guard soldier, and the attack had been planned for months. They had stocked food, water, and ammunition in the underground basements of Masjid al-Haram. They knew the layout of the mosque and had turned it into an impregnable fortress. The second and most difficult challenge was a religious one. In Islam, any form of violence or bloodshed inside Masjid al-Haram is strictly forbidden. The King of Saudi Arabia holds the title custodian of the two holy mosques. How could he order his troops to open fire in the holiest place in Islam? To do so, he needed a fatwa from the country's highest religious scholars, the Council of Ulama, and waiting for this fatwa took several days. The whole world was watching. Thousands of people were trapped inside, and one of the richest and most powerful Muslim countries appeared helpless on its own sacred ground. After days of waiting and debate, Saudi Arabia's senior-most scholars finally issued a fatwa, declaring the situation to be exceptional and permitting the use of weapons inside Masjid al-Haram. The government now had the green light. The elite National Guard was ordered to free the mosque. But the first few attacks failed badly. Juhayman's militants, already in sniper positions, inflicted heavy casualties on the Saudi forces. The real problem was the underground complex of basements where the militants had stored their weapons. Juhayman's men knew every corner. They would hide, move from one place to another, suddenly emerge to attack, and then vanish again. Clearing these basements seemed impossible. When it became clear that they could not win this battle alone, the Saudis desperately sought international help. They contacted two countries: France, requesting tactical advice from their elite anti-terrorist unit, GIGN; Pakistan, requesting their most elite soldiers. Pakistan's President Zia-ul-Haq responded by sending a contingent of the SSG, Special Services Group, the most elite, highly trained soldiers of the Pakistan Army, famous worldwide for close-quarter combat. A new joint assault plan was made. The French provided tactical advice, while the key task of carrying out the high-risk close-quarter operations was assigned to the Pakistani SSG commandos, alongside the Saudi forces. The plan had two parts. First, turn the militants' greatest strength, the underground basements, into their greatest weakness. The Saudis drilled holes in the mosque's courtyard and began pumping thousands of gallons of water into the basements to flush the militants out and restrict their movement. Tear gas was also released to create confusion and chaos among them. Once this was done, it was time for the real assault, clearing the basements room by room. The SSG commandos led this extremely dangerous mission. They moved cautiously in small teams, clearing each corridor and room one by one. After hours of intense close combat, the militants' defense finally broke. Their proclaimed Mahdi, Muhammad Abdullah al-Qahtani, was killed in the fighting, and in the end, Juhayman al-Otaibi was captured alive with his remaining 67 followers. After 2 weeks of bloody battle, Masjid al-Haram was free again. Juhayman and his 67 surviving followers were tried and publicly executed. For the Saudi government, the rebellion was over, but the incident had shaken them deeply. They realized that an extremist movement had arisen from within, posing a serious threat to their rule. To reaffirm their religious legitimacy, they imposed an extremely strict conservative system across the country, much like the one Juhayman had called for. Juhayman had lost the battle, but it seemed his ideology had won.